Architect Robin Boyd left many houses dotted around Melbourne that were the talk of the neighbourhood in the 1950s and 60s. He died 40 years ago, but an exhibition at the Mornington Art Gallery is bringing a new audience to his work. Cheryl Hall had a tour.
Robin Boyd considered himself the least artistic of his famous family of artists, and that's why he became an architect. 50 years ago, he had definite ideas about what he called the Australian ugliness.
Everyone who erects a bad building is in some sort of way committing a crime against society. It's a sort of major act of vandalism.
Some of Robin Boyd's statements had him branded unpatriotic, but he sparked a lasting debate about design and urban planning. His houses were popular in Melbourne's newer suburbs in the east and south and suited the beach houses of the Mornington Peninsula.
I can remember as a kid coming into this house and we thought we were on a spaceship. It was just unbelievable, and people would come here and they would be blown away by the view, but by the very nature of the house. It was light, it was bright, it was open.
Colin Kay's father saw houses similar to this during his travels in America. When he came home, he asked Robin Boyd to build this house for him on Frankston's Oliver's Hill. The steep, compact site made it difficult.
I do remember Dad's very words. He said Robin basically made it stand up, and he did redesign it too. Robin brought in his own flavour into it, and Dad loved Robin's work very much. It's a beach house, and we would have these marvellous parties. It inspired me. I was like 15 or 16. I'd see Mum and Dad sitting out here on the balcony with these beautiful parties, everyone in bow ties and long dresses.
Robin Boyd was involved in about 20 projects on the Mornington Peninsula. Many were recorded in his book, Living in Australia. Some featured in his television programs.
This is a big beach house down at Mount Eliza, and it could get very hot. And so we had the idea of forming a parasol roof.
The Robin Boyd Foundation has tracked down some of the houses for a photographic exhibition at Mornington. But this one, the McLoone House, was feared lost.
People knew that it had been built because it was photographed and included in Robin's book, Living in Australia. But any registers that had been put together over the years by scholars had the wrong address in it.
Tony Lee spent hours at the Frankston Police Station and the council trying to find a road that didn't exist. He eventually found the McLoone House by looking in the phone book for its owner.
There was no one in the house at the time that was not lived in, so I did a bit of a wander around. I was a bit bold and impertinent, and as I was leaving, I heard this really sort of lyrical Irish voice from across the fence saying, "Young man, what are you doing in my house?" And it was Ian McLoone, who was actually living next door at the time.
Okay, so this is an unusual entrance?
It certainly is. Normally when you come into a house through the front door, you're into a hall or a living room, but in this case you actually walk into a courtyard, and the house surrounds the courtyard as a series of boxes, basically. Over those collection of boxes we've got a totally independent roof, which just works as an umbrella or a parasol, providing wonderful insulation, particularly during the summer.
The houses are an insight into the design of the day, but also the lives of the families who lived in them. Robin Boyd believed architects could change lives.
Air conditioning will be a quite familiar thing in the cheapest, most ordinary houses, if all goes well. And plastics of all sorts that we don't even know about now. And electronic dusting mechanisms built in automatically to buildings, so nobody has to wield a duster anymore.
Colin Kay and his fellow Boyd enthusiasts are hoping Boyd's houses survive the future.
I hope this house stands here forever, and if there's some way that we can have the Robin Boyd Foundation cover it in some way so it can never be pulled down, that would be a marvellous thing for me and the family. I know that, yeah. We would love it to stay here forever, and why would you pull it down?